Hello, in the last lecture we talked about header files, and now we are going to talk about this line using namespace std. So what is this? Before this, we have to understand the concept of scope. So what is scope? Suppose a thing has some boundaries and that thing cannot access any other thing outside that boundary. That boundary defines scope. Anything can be accessed within the scope, but outside that boundary it cannot be accessed. That boundaries are known as scope, and in programming we use curly braces to define boundaries. In other words, scope. Let me show you a demonstration. We have these two scopes, and instruction 1, 2 and 3 have this boundary, and instruction A and B have this boundary. Instruction A cannot be accessed within this scope, so if I will try to write instruction A in this scope, then it will not access this instruction because this instruction A is outside of this boundary. So this is called scope. Now we are moving towards our topic. If I will name this scope as splitters and name this as well as B. So by naming these scopes, this will become namespace. So let's suppose if namespace B has a function known as cout, and if I want to access this cout in anywhere in my program, I will use the namespace, which is B, and then I will use scope resolution operator, which is these two colons. You have to remember this. We are going to use this ahead, and then we will write the function which are we going to use. Okay, so this is how I will access this cout function of this namespace B. So this cout is the function of std namespace. So in this library file there is a namespace which is std, and a library file can contain multiple namespaces. Let's suppose I have these two curly braces. I'm going to name this as iostream. So this file is iostream, and within this file there are multiple namespaces, and one of these namespaces is std namespace, and in that std namespace there is a function which is cout. So the meaning of this statement is that we are using a namespace which is std. So the compiler will know that whenever I will use a function in my main function, that function will be the part of std namespace. Okay, I'm moving it. So when I will try to compile this, it will show this. It's executing fine. I'm closing it, and when I will remove this line and try to compile it again, then it will show error that compiler does not know what is the meaning of this cout. You can see the error. This is the error line, and it's saying that cout was not declared in this scope. So we have to tell this compiler that this cout has some meaning in the std namespace. To do that, we have used this statement using namespace std, and when I will try to compile this again, this will work fine, and you can see that. Okay, now what if I don't want to use this statement and want to execute this program without this statement? To do this, I will delete this line, and remember that I told you to specify a namespace we have to use scope resolution operator, which was 2 colons. So I'm going to tell the compiler that use std namespace, and in that namespace there is this cout function, and we will tell this by using scope resolution operator, which is this. And when I will try to compile this again, and this will work fine. You can see this. So this is called namespace, and this is how we use scope resolution operator, and this is the meaning of using namespace std. And when we wrote this, we don't have to use this. Without this, the program will work fine. Let me show you. And here it is. So that's all.